Welcome back, friends. Here is the another part of like the React JS tutorial, which we are taking care on that of like on how we're going to handle events. On the previous one, we have seen on how to handle the click event and also how we're going to be accepting the data from the user through the text boxes. And on this one, we're going to take a look on how we're going to be just working with checkboxes. It's going to work pretty much the same with radio buttons, but we're going to take a look on the other one. Again, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you get like a lot more on this kind of videos. So going forward, we're going to go here and for this part, let me take this thing out. For this part, we're going to make the hard-coded checkboxes on this one. Usually the checkboxes are going to be populated programmatically, the one that we're going to be just reading from the back server or anything that we're going to be just calculating. But since we haven't seen on how we're going to be do the iteration, we're going to be taking care on that of like the manual kind of setting the checkboxes. So I'm going to say input type checkbox. And as we know, we need to have like the same. So for this one, let's use with the language. And the value for this one, I'm going to give it is probably PHP. Checked, let's keep this thing out for now. And I'm going to have probably a couple more. And I'm going to say PHP here. I'm going to say Java here, and probably Ruby here. And I'm going to say this one with a capital. And here I'm going to say like Java, I'm going to say like the Ruby. All right, then this is just a basic one. If we take a look on this one, we have like the PHP, Java, and Ruby. So nothing is going to be taken care of like the check boxes over here whenever someone is checking or unchecking them. So how do we do that? Then probably you might have like some idea by now on how we have done it over here. So we're going to do like the same thing on this one as well. Every time the checkboxes are like checked, then we need to be notified about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have like on a change, and we're going to say, actually, we're going to say like, let's call it like handle checkbox. So we're going to do this. I'm going to copy that and paste that. I'm just making it like on the front so that everything is going to be just in one side. Otherwise, it doesn't matter where you're going to put it. And I'm going to have this one to be handle checkbox. And oh, not that one. And I'm going to say, actually, we can even leave event like this one from like the ES6 of that of the arrow. If we are passing only one parameter, we don't have to pass like we don't have to have like the parameter over here. So what we're going to do is let's check that we are on the right path, which is going to be console.log. That we're going to say like event.target.php. Oh, not PHP, like value, sorry. So if I go back, oh, we are having a problem. 100 checkbox is not defined. Did we do something else? Let me copy that and 100 checkbox. Probably it's not refreshed. Otherwise, everything looks there. Oh, so actually complaining. Oh, this is because it has to be from this. And this one as well. This. All right. So that's all about it. And we're going to inspect that. And if I go to the console and if I check that, then PHP is selected, Java is selected, and Ruby selected. So we can see that those things are handled on that one, but the main thing is not this one. We want to have it like just like the way we have it like for the text parts. We need to have the values to be reserved when we try to use them like later. What it means is we need to map those things for the local variable. And the way to do that, as we have seen earlier, is going to be through the state. So over here, I'm going to have like language, and I'm going to have yet another one. I'm going to say like PHP, let's say start with a false, and Java false, and Ruby false. So let's assume like the question is like which kind of programming language are you familiar with, and we're going to provide for the user, and if he or she knows like more than one, then they're going to select more than one. Otherwise, just they're going to select only one or even none. So the part that we're going to be just doing it now, it's going to make more sense that we're going to do pretty much the same thing as we've done for the text handler. In this case, also what we're going to do is every time when we are having the checkbox, that's going to be just mapping the value. So here we have done like the pretty much the same kind of name is going to be considering, it's going to be consistent with the key of like the language that we're having. So what we're going to do is over here, we're going to do, let's have like the let state. Actually, yeah, let's do the state and then this that state, right? So we're going to do that and then state that language or language of the key is going to be just event that target that value, and its value is going to be just considered as event that target that checked. All right, so the checked value is over here. I'm going to show you, like, if you are going to be just wondering like where is this coming from. This is the checked value, which is going to take like either a true or false value over here. So we're going to assign that to be this that state that language. Actually, let's take this one to the next part so that we can see it clearly. Starting from the name, if I move it down to the value and to the checked so that we can see it clearly. Language, then we're going to say that PHP. So if we have, let me copy that and actually from here to here. I'm going to copy that and we're going to do pretty much the same thing, starting from the name for this and for the value. Then over here, I'm going to paste that and the same thing over here so that we're going to be just consistent. And name is there, value is here, and over here, I'm going to paste that. And over here, it's going to be just Ruby. And over here, it's going to be Java. So what we have done is basically we pick the value and then we're going to associate it with the status, like the state that we're having for the language. And then initially, let's say, let's assume that everybody knows Java or PHP. And then if I start it with a true, then you can see that the first value has been checked already. If we have like two of them are already checked, then two of them are going to be just checked. Otherwise, we're going to start from the false over here. And every time that someone is clicking on it, then we're going to come here over here, and then actually we haven't assigned that. So this that state, not the state is going to be state. So we're going to have all the values that we're having is going to be just associated on this one. So we can check that out, and if we check this, then PHP is selected, and then that's going to be just remaining with that. And in case if you want to see if we are actually sticking the values in there or not, then what we can do is after we check that one, we can see that state that language, so that we can see initially they were all false. So every time that I'm clicking on them, then whatever is selected has to have like the true value. The rest are going to be just a false. If I go to the Ruby, then the PHP and the Ruby are going to be just true. If I uncheck that one, then like Ruby is going to be just false and PHP remains true. And if I take this out, then this one is going to be just there. Now with this, as I've said, like it is going to be just pretty much the same on how we're going to be handling the radio buttons. The only difference is going to be on the case of the radio buttons, you're going to be able to select only one, whereas on the case of like the checkboxes, you're going to be just able to select more than one. Otherwise, the way how we're going to handle them is going to be just the same. Again, this is like a little bit more work over here. As you can see, there is like too much of repetition over here. We are going to see this one on how to handle on the listing part of the case. So we're going to see it like on how to handle that one. But this would make it more clear. I mean, you can create this one programmatically, but in a way behind the scenes, this is how it's going to be just performed. And again, like to get back to on how we're going to be just knowing like what kind of values or properties are associated with the event, then the easiest thing would be just to inspect it. So over here, what we can do is if I just simply type the event over here so that we can see it, and if I click on this one, then you can see that the synthetic base event is going to be just here. So these are like all the values on that one that you can be able to see and then work on it. So the type, is the default prevented and whatnot. All that stuff is going to be just handled on this one. And ours is going to be on a target, which is going to be over here. And you can see that we have all sorts of like the properties under the target that we're going to be just working on. And checked is just one of them that we're going to be just taking from that one. And you can see that all the event values, like the max, the mean, and the corresponding the event called the event handlers are going to be associated with the event. And you can see that this one is like a wrapper for the basic event. It's not exactly the event. That's what it says over here, synthetic based event. But in any way, it's going to do its job. So to conclude, the way how we're going to handle like the checkbox events is pretty much the same, except we need to have like a corresponding start the state, just like that's like the text value that we're having. Then we're going to have like the corresponding value for the state that we're going to associate it with the values that we're creating. And later, as I've said, we're going to see on how to programmatically assign this value, because we have copy pasted like the same thing many times, and this is not scalable, as you can see. If it is something that we're going to get it from the database or something, this is not going to work. So we should have a way to create this thing automatically. But you would understand that if we have a clear understanding, that is going to be just a matter of like the logistics on how we're going to be just creating this one. All right. Hopefully you have got like on the basic understanding of like how we're going to be just working with the checkbox. Again, final reminder as usual, we're going to be just to hit the like button and that's to subscribe. And on the next video, I'm going to show you a couple more values on how we're going to be just working with the event, especially on the following events. So I will see you on the next video, and thank you for your attention.